I'm going to do a few videos on a move I'm going to be making. I'm currently living in South Carolina, and I've been living at the beach for close to 5 years, and I'm going to be moving up to the mountains. But this entire move is going to be looked at from the point of view of our true nature of presence, the true nature of the open awareness that we are, that you are, versus looking at it from a point of view of being a separate entity, a character. So the difference between that is, as a separate entity or a character, to move would be Mike. Mike is moving to another place. And Mike has to prepare and get everything set up at the other place and has to do all these things. And we get lost in that wheel for a little while. You can't help it, it just happens. When somebody contacts you and says, what kind of air conditioner do you want in the RV you're going to be living in? You go into, we start looking at objects and things like that. But this move is really being done not through the mind, through creating things. And if you think about it, all the moves you make in life, all the things you do, you think you do them, but you actually don't. You think, I chose to go up to the store. But what happens is those thoughts appear. And the thoughts come from the infinite, open space of awareness. And then the thoughts are an open space of awareness, and they return to the open space of awareness. So there are stories that come along with this, and if we don't have the stories, then it's no fun. I oftentimes will meet people that are so deep into the radical non-duality that they'll just say, I don't exist, you don't exist, nothing exists. They're nearly impossible to talk to because they're just like floating in water. So the balance is to know the infinite existence and non-existence, and to know the separate point of view of a character, and to blend the two, so that you're also infinite space and you're also your name. And you play back and forth. You may have experiences where you are this wonderful Mike eating an ice cream cone and then riding a bike back home. And then you can take that memory later on and you take a look at it and say, well, where did I actually exist in that whole scene that I go look back on? Go into any memory and try to find a separate you, and you won't be able to. So you might find that that's kind of exciting. Moving this a little bit. There we go. So 5 years ago, I moved from Maryland down to South Carolina. And I did it because there was the COVID experience we all went through. I lost all my business as a musician playing in nursing homes. And I came to the beach. Now what's interesting is, energetically, to live up in the hills of Maryland and near the mountains, it's a very solid rock. Solid. And then when you come to the beach, you have the open swirl of the ocean, you have the shifting sand, and you have the storms that just swirl around too. Storms come in, and they just as quickly as they come in, they move out. I found after I moved down here that it's an open vortex here. It's a beautiful open vortex. The people are also like that too. They just run a little different down here. Up north, you can meet someone and you can say, yeah, I'll see you on Monday. And they will be there on Monday. That didn't happen down here. I met so many people, and I don't know what happened between the time I shook their hand and the next Monday. I don't know, I guess they got stoned or something. I don't know. They just no didn't feel it was necessary to inform me they weren't going to show up, or they had all kinds of ideas for projects and they just failed to follow through with them. It was one after another. I've never seen anything like that. And then I kind of backed away and looked at it from the point of view of just infinity and said, you know, it's different. It's an open vortex here. It's swirling, it's changing, it's moving, it's creating. It's beautiful. Let's embrace it. And it took me a while to embrace that. It took me a bit of time to get used to it. And you would literally see it. When you live in the mountains, you go and you look at the mountain, and every day the mountain's going to look sort of the same. The trees will move, the colors will change a little bit in the fall, and the skies will always change. The mountains down here is the ocean, which is always different. You walk up to it, and one day you're like, oh, I can swim today. Look at that. There's barely any waves. It's beautiful. I can just wade right in and go in. And in other days, the tides are so rough, you don't go in. The tourists will go in and struggle. But that's okay. I watch it. I just watch it all. So after being here a while, I started to get a desire to go back home. Home to me is the mountains. Home is the lands. And a couple things started happening once I let go. Now, you say, well, how do you let go? You can't let go on purpose. That doesn't work. You can't say, I'm going to let go. The way to let go is you become your awareness. You become the awareness. You abide in the infinite presence that you are, which means you don't abide in the character as Mike trying to get somewhere. You give up the linear story. And you know wholeness as appearing as this right now. Everything is complete wholeness. Even the fact of you trying to get to some place to find peace, to get all your ducks in a row, to get people to act a certain way, to get everything to be in this flow that was perfectly there before, which you may have had just for a few moments. Can you control that? No. Can you control other people? No. So the way to let go is you let go of that desire to make something be what you want it to be. You let go into saying, what this is here. Okay, we have this here. This is a mess. The mind says it's a mess. Yes, it is a mess. Then it is a mess perfectly. It is too infinite presence appearing as a mess. And that's okay. Because when you can rest in that place, then you're letting go by being everything. So that's what I did. I just let go. My car, let's start there. My car got repoed because I didn't feel like paying $300 for a car that was worth maybe $1,000, and was running horrible. And they asked me on the phone, what do you want to pay? And I said, I'll pay you $100. I did that for a couple months, and then they took the car. And when they took it, I didn't know what I was going to do. I sat there thinking, should I cry? Should I be upset? I wasn't. I was like, okay, well, the car's gone. And then it hit me, and then I reached out, and I had an enormous amount of friends show up in such a loving manner, such a beautiful, loving manner, and offer me enough money to help me get another car. And then I had another friend come in and help me even more further. Every person that sent me any money, I cried. I was like, I can't believe the love that's out there. It was fascinating. And then I ended up with a better car. And then once I got the car, um, my relationship changed with the person I was living with, and we turned that into a friendship, which I never would have thought would have happened. Most relationships go from friendship to a relationship. This one went from friendship to relationship and then back to a deeper connected friendship. It's kind of nice. It still has its battles, its challenges, but those battles and challenges, they come up. You face them and you see them for all the different colors that they are, and you respond emotionally, and you get mad, and you get angry, and you toss back and forth, and that's the play. And then after it's over, you take a look and say, what actually appeared? What happened? Nothing happened, because all of that was just words, energies, movements, and all of it too was the open awareness. Everything was. But you still battle. The battle becomes one the moment that you see one. You see that it was just two infinite beings, not ever separated, just bantering back and forth. And what was accomplished? Did any of that change the infinite being in either of the two people? Was the infinite being ever touched in any of that? No, it wasn't. So that's more ways of letting go. And now this is where miracles start taking place. So we let go, we became friends. And then we decided to release the place we were living, which was a smaller retirement community, kind of, up in Murrells Inlet. And it was a rather strange place to live. There was a lot of people protecting and watching their condominiums and what goes on around them, because they had so much fear of the price of their condominiums diminishing, or the quote neighborhood going down a bad path, that they became mean to other people. They had video cameras everywhere. And I didn't realize it till we moved out of there that it was very stressful. Simple things, if you left your shoes out by the door, they would send you a fine of $50. It was ridiculous. And most of them were just holding on to this linear story to make everything right. They would walk around at nighttime and write down license plates of cars that they didn't think belonged there, and just overstep their boundaries as an HOA. There was a lot of tension there, and everybody's like, oh, this is my life. I've worked hard for this, and it has to be this way. And that'll never happen. They're never gonna find happiness. Once you get everything set up, and you get your house and you get all your stuff, the mind will think of something else. Oh, well, what about this? What about that? It never ends. The mind only stops thinking of other things when the mind starts thinking of what its true nature is. So your true nature is just a simple presence. And you stop and it opens up right there for you. It takes nothing. You stop, it will greet you, because it's been there, hiding in plain sight, appearing as everything. But no one wants to look at that. So we left there. And worry came along, and I'm going, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live next? What am I going to do? How can I afford this? How can we afford this? Are we going to live together? What are we going to do? And out of nowhere, we get a call from someone who we knew who said, "Hey, I've got a beach house. You guys can live there. Just pay the electric for the summer." Now, suddenly, here I am going, wait a second. I can live in this beach house for the summer, bank my rent, and then I can go move up north and go back home where I have 3 kids and a grandchild. I can't imagine that. So then suddenly the plan started happening. How did it happen? I couldn't have thought my way through this. So I start looking, where am I going to live? How am I going to go work up there? And it turns out I'm doing sub work. I can take my substitute teaching work from here, transfer it up there, sort of. It wasn't quite that easy. And then I can find a place to live. So I then, as Mike, started trying to find a place to live. That became a shit show. Impossible. The more apartments I looked at online on Facebook Marketplace or some place like that, the more scams I ran into. Everything was a scam. You'd spend 5 hours working to connect with someone to try to get into an apartment. And it turns out that it was fake. They wouldn't, trust me, it was just a scam. And it seemed like doing it that way was not right. And I kept thinking, I need to just drive up there and see. So I just stopped that and said, I'm just going to surrender into my being and just enjoy the beach and let it go. I'm walking off the beach, my phone rings. It's a friend of mine who says, hey, I have this farm up in Westminster, and they do Agnihotra ceremonial fires, which is an old ceremony of burning fires to let go of self into the universe and do a universal offering. It's been done as long as 1300 years BCE, so it's really old. The Hopi Indians did it. It was before the Upanishads. It's mentioned in there. It's fascinating. So here's a place in Westminster, Maryland that does this. It's a farm that does these ancient fires, and they do meditation events. So I call them. 11 years ago, I called them also. And I went and I met with some woman named Patricia, is her name. And I was going to try to play Native American flutes with her while she does sound baths. And I met with her, and nothing happened from the meeting. Nothing took place. I came back going, what happened there? I thought I'd get locked in to play some music with her. That didn't happen. I thought maybe she would give me some networking. Nothing happened. I left her going, well, that was a waste of time. So now here it is 11 years later. I call her, pick up the phone. She picks up the phone. And she says, hello, Michael. How have you been? I'm going, how do you know me? She goes, you came up here and you played flutes and we sat and had tea in my living room. At this point, I can't remember any of this. I'm going, oh, okay. I guess so. She then mentioned something about having a certain type of Swedish cows. I forget what they're called. And once she mentioned that, I remembered who she was. I was like, wow. She then told me that she has a tiny home there that they rent out on the farm. We spoke a little bit, and then I called her back about 3 days later and said, hey, just out of nowhere, this is how it works, just out of nowhere, thoughts came in and said, give her a call. So I just did. Called her. She said, yeah, we could probably rent that to you. And you could live on the farm, and we need people to do fire ceremonies and teach meditation classes or something. I'd like to talk about the dzogchen, teach people about that. So we then had further conversations, and they said, "Yeah, the tiny house is not that great. It's falling apart. We're going to sell it." They said, "We like you. We're going to get you an RV to live in." So they get this RV. It's huge. It's giant. I could put my drum set in it if I want to. I don't really have a drum set, but one day I'll get one again. It's nice. So that starts appearing. And then I find myself in a very interesting place. I'm thinking like what's the draw? Okay? What is it I'm really looking for? And then this is where story then blends into energy. Energy creates story. Energies create all stories. All stories, which means your thoughts, your ideas, and your emotions. And then the visions of you in a linear story going from point A to point B all come from energy. And if you go to the source of the energy and what are you feeling? What is the draw? Where's that coming from? You'll find a lot of answers. So I found myself one day with my feet in the ocean, nighttime, just saying, why do I want to go back up north? What is it? Because I do have a whole nice life down here in the south by the beach. And it was this draw inside me. It's almost like the beach is beautiful, but to me it felt like a deepening had to take place. I needed to go deeper. The mountains felt like a deeper. And what it felt like is it felt like I was bringing my centered self deeper into the mountains. So I sat with that and decided that's what I'm going to do. And then I told them at the farm, count me in, I'll be there. And I then made a trip up to the farm. And I brought with me water from the ocean, sand from the beach, and seashells. And I gave them as gifts. And we took the water and the sand and poured it around the big giant oak trees at the farm and blessed them, offering the open vortex of energy to the centeredness of the mountains. And during that trip, I went and visited my three children, and I held a grandchild. There could be nothing more powerful and nothing more beautiful than seeing this idea and sense of, oh, I need to fill this, I need to express this beautiful open vortex and center it into the mountains. There can be nothing more powerful than actually sensing that, feeling that, following up on that, and then holding a grandbaby in the Blue Ridge Mountains, standing by, watching this river go by on the front porch of my son's house. That was the point of here is the wholeness appearing. That was the final point of completion there, which was beautiful. And then I went back to the farm. I visited there. I sat on the front porch of the farm. I had the whole place to myself for 2 nights. I burned a beautiful little Agnihotra fire and could just feel the presence of the land. And what I'm experiencing is it's a nice mix. It's a mix of the awareness of infinity of everything. And it's also a mix of what appears to be a doing. Something is happening. You're doing things. You're seeing infinity appear as hills, trees, babies. A baby. And in that place, there's no aging. There's no past, there's no future, there's just what's there. It's very free. You'll hear more birds, you'll smell more flowers. There's a home feeling, a feeling of home. And there's a feeling of pure contentment. And that takes place because there's no linear story anymore. There's no linear story of you trying to get to some place because every place is it. And then when I came back home, there was stress. I was stressed to try to get okay, now I went up to the mountains. I saw the RV. I saw my kids. Now I'm come back to the beach for a couple of weeks. Now I have all this stuff to do. And the stress was there. I have to get this done. But at the same time I'm doing it, I'm also sensing that um, it's already happened. It's already there. I already can sense living in that environment. I can already sense that. And then I take a look at this and go, let go. And somebody says, well, why would you want to let go? You're do all this work. No, let go. Let it just happen. Prove to me that letting go actually works. Remember that phone call from 11 years, that person you talked to 11 years ago, where you met them and nothing happened. And you said that made no sense. And 11 years later, now it made sense. So, in the chapter of your book, if you look at something and say, this makes no sense, this is painful, why is this happening? Turn the page. A friend of mine will tell me that. He'll say, turn the page, see what happens next. And you turn the page, and then you turn the page again and again and again, and up there it is in the next chapter. There it is. So, now I will be moving north, and I'll be saying goodbye to what I've known here for 5 years. I'll be saying goodbye to the beach that has healed me. Because I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago when I came here. I came here really trying to grab onto something, to hold on to something that I thought was me. And that failed. I failed at that perfectly. I couldn't do what I was doing up north. I couldn't get the music going. I couldn't. Oh my God, the jobs I got were crazy. All of them were crazy. And the pure failures taught me a whole lot about everything. The relationship I was in, relationships are boot camp. A very, very deep relationship with another person where you're living with them. Welcome to boot camp for the soul. You will learn so much about yourself. Hang in there, work through it, let go, forgive, and love. And then there'll be a time to move on. So what's interesting is as I move on, it's almost like I'm going into another book or a second movie. And so what happens when you go into a second movie? What happens? What takes place? The characters of the first movie are not in the second movie, but they may appear here and there. And when they do, it becomes such a joy. Whoa, this character's in this movie now. I remember them from the last movie. I've missed them. So as I say goodbye to friends that I've met down here, I'll see them again in the next movie in a different place as they change and as they grow. As I have changed and I've grown. And we keep re-meeting our beautiful, boundless self, our beautiful unborn self. We keep re-meeting it in ourself, and we meet it in other people. And then we meet them again as they have unfolded more of that in themselves. And we smile. And we say, there it is. And it's good to see you more so than I saw you last time. So I'm now at the beach for 12 more days. I will spend time quietly with the ocean. I will spend time putting my feet in the sand. I'll spend time with friends that I've made here. And then I'll say goodbye. And I'll be back. But I'll say goodbye, and then I'll venture out up north. On my way up north, I'm stopping at an Agnihotra temple where they've been burning these sacred fires for 45 years. I want to feel the peace. I want to sit in the quiet after this experience. And I want to stop there and pause for 2 days until I go up to the RV and the farm. And then once on the farm, I'll take some time off and start thinking about how to do talks, how to help people. Or I just might sit and read books. I don't know. But I'll reconnect with the land, reconnect with my kids, reconnect with old friends up there I haven't seen for a while. And I'll do that journey. And when I leave here, I will leave here with tears as I say goodbye to people. But I also know I will be back. I'll actually be back next summer because there's a school I want to play for which has these beautiful special needs kids. And I want to help them every summer. But it's going to be beautiful. So this change from being like down the beach and going, how do I get back up north? I could not figure it out in my own head. I couldn't think my way through it. I couldn't think my way out of it. And the whole thing took place when I stopped trying. Even the incident with my car, when I had my car and I'm going, how do I do something with this car? I'm paying so much for this car. It's worth nothing. I'm upside down in payments. I couldn't think my way to get out of that. It took care of itself. So abide and look into and find your unborn presence of who you are. It's there. Just stop. You just stop and you ask them. One of the most important questions is, what is here? What is here? What is here? That's all you have to do. And sitting in that, you know that presence. Start looking for it everywhere. And you'll find your home has been there, appearing as everything. So I'll do another video soon as I move up, move out, or have ideas and thoughts about this. Thank you.